Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, in Team Season Preview 23 out of 32, I was joined by Carolina Panthers fan Keg from the Magpie Channel as we preview the team's upcoming season. Keg discusses Bryce Young ahead of his third year as the starter.
Yeah, I think the turning point was week 8.
Keg also discusses what was a lopsided defence in 2024.
I mean, it was shocking last year. It was really difficult to watch.
And Keg predicts the team's overall record in our win-loss-tie segment. Hope you will enjoy.
Yeah, people are going to be listening to this and thinking I'm absolutely off my nut here. Crazy Geordie bastard.
Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and we're here for another team's season preview. And the team in focus today is the Carolina Panthers. And with me, I've got a returning guest. There's only one guy we can bring on when it comes to the Panthers. It's returning guest, the Magpie Channel's Keg. Keg, how are you? How are things?
Not too bad, mate. Very good. We'll not talk about Newcastle. We just had a little bit of a chat off air there before we got started. So we'll move across. But yeah, Panthers side and personally, yeah, everything's all good, mate. Doing well. How are you?
Well, it's good to hear, first of all. Good to hear that you're well. And yeah, all good. Can't really complain. We're talking off camera about, Liverpool, Newcastle, that side of sports going well for me at the moment. But yeah, other than that, it's we're officially now less than a month away from the season beginning.
Yeah, getting close.
Weather's starting to get crap, which is saying that it was still warm. To be fair, it was still warm, but it's starting to get darker earlier in the night, and but in a way, it sort of is leading up to we know what's coming. We know when this kind of weather starts to happen. We know Premier League's around the corner. We know the NFL's around the corner. So yeah, it's I think for sports fans, especially if you love these two sports, it's an exciting time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can't wait. Yeah, clock's ticking down. It's further away than I think that it is. Like I feel like it's just like this weekend, but it's like obviously pre-season for the NFL, and then like other leagues, like lower leagues and stuff's starting this weekend, like the Championship. But yeah, Premier League still 2 weeks away. And the NFL about 3-4 weeks away from this date as time of record. I'm not sure when this is going to go out, but yeah, it still seems so far away, but it's also so close as well.
And we are so close to finishing these team season previews. We are well over halfway through the journey. We've got a few teams left to record. We've got the likes of the Colts, the Falcons, the Jets, the Bengals, the Cardinals. And there was one more team I'm forgetting. But either way, we're on the final stretch. There's a few teams left to go as we once again, I believe it's for the fourth year now. We've done all 32 teams season previews. But speaking of which, let's head into our Carolina Panthers off-season. So incomings, including free agency and re-signings. This includes the likes of Adam Thielen, Austin Corbett, Andy Dalton, Trevor Moehrig, Rico Dowdle, Tommy Tremble, Michael Jackson, and then also out include the likes of Jadeveon Clowney, Shaq Thompson, Eddie Pinheiro, Miles Sanders, Jordan Fuller. And in the draft, you took the main three taken were Taitario McMillan, the wide receiver, 8th overall, edge Nick Scouton, 51st overall, and Princely Uman Milan, edge 77th overall, as well as Travis's brother, Trevor Etienne, Lathan Ranson, Cam Jackson, Mitchell Evans, and Jimmy Horn. Keg, for you overall, your take on the team's off-season?
Yeah, really positive. Really happy in many aspects. I think starting with the defensive line, that was our biggest problem last year. I think we allowed, it was like the third most rushing yards in NFL history or something like that. Like the defensive line was bad, but coming off of 2023, Derek Brown broke a record for the most tackles by a defensive lineman in NFL history, or at least since records began. Got a big new contract. It was like a 4-year deal, $100-something million. I think it was like £97 million, something like dollars, I should say. Sorry. And then he got injured week 1, out for the season, torn meniscus. So that didn't help. We lost our star guy on defense, especially in the trenches there. So we suffered. We really, really struggled. So yeah, this offseason we've came in and got a couple of big guys there. There's Tershawn Wharton and Bobby Brown that weren't mentioned there, both Super Bowl winners. Tershawn Turk Wharton, I think he's got 2 Super Bowl rings coming from the Chiefs. Bobby Brown won the Super Bowl in 2021 with the Rams. Used to work with our defensive coordinator, Ezra Evero, as well. And obviously with Derek Brown coming back, there's 3 big, not necessarily new guys in terms of Derek Brown, but his return is huge. So yeah, defensive line stacked up there. Trevon Moehrig is a massive help at safety because we lost both starting safeties. Xavier Woods has been our star safety for the last 2-3 years. He left in free agency. Alongside him, we tried a couple of guys up for the last couple of years. It was Von Bell in 2023 and Jordan Fuller. Not Jordan. Was it Jordan Fuller? Yeah, Jordan Fuller. Can't even remember now. Wasn't really that useful, so I forgot his name. So he didn't really have the best of times, and neither did Von Bell. So yeah, we had 2 starting safety spots up for grabs coming into free agency. Trevon Moehrig was our first signing of free agency. Big money, but for a big guy as well, a reliable guy, really good in the run game, which, as I mentioned, was a big problem last year. And how our defensive coordinator, Ezra, everyone likes to set up as well. He's always got a bit more of the run stop ideology than kind of like rushing the passer, which is a bit frustrating in the Panthers fan base at times, but at least he's got a guy that fits his system. And we drafted Lathan Ransom, just came off of an Ohio State national championship win. So got a couple of new safeties, edge rush as well. Obviously lost Jadeveon Clowney. Double dipped on day 2 in the draft with Nick Scotton from Texas A&M in round 2 and Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss in round 3. 2 young upcoming pass rushers. Nick Scotton's an elite run stop. So fits our system. We've been putting people in the right places, in the right areas. Obviously, the big name is Tetairoa McMillan, the 8th overall pick in the draft. A bit of a surprise, I think, among some people, because of our defense was so bad last year, I think everyone expected us to go defense. I think it was Jalen Walker from Georgia who was the consensus pick, I think, not just among Panther Nation, but I think among draft analysts and experts as well. I'm sure everyone done a mock draft, and I think they probably picked Jalen Walker as our pick at number 8. I know I did. I know as the draft was going on, I called out each player right before Roger Goodell said their name. I was going along with him, and I got each of the first 7 picks bang on. I think it was predictable, to be honest with you. It wasn't that difficult. But the Panthers threw the first spanner in the works in the draft by picking McMillan over Walker. But that was a question. But we sorted that out on day 2 with Scott and Umanmielen. Bryce Young really needed that number 1 guy. He really needed that true X receiver. We did get a receiver last year in Xavier Liga. Liga's not really that number 1 guy. He's a bit more of a kind of like a plug and play guy. He can play a few different roles on the offense, but just bombing downfield, being that X receiver isn't really his style. Whereas McMillan, he's like 6'4". He's got the wingspan of a jumbo jet. His arms are massive. His height's massive. His catch radius is ridiculous. His hands are ridiculous. So Bryce doesn't even necessarily need to be accurate with a guy like that. You just put it in and around the vicinity of McMillan, and he's going to compete for it. He's going to contest every throw, he can come down with most catches, even if they're not that accurate. He's a long body as well. So, I think we've done under the radar well. I think if you look at our free agency, I think a lot of names don't really stand out, and you probably don't think like, the Panthers had a really good free agency draft class. But I argue we got what we needed, where we needed, when we needed. Like I said, those defensive linemen, the safety, few other guys on defense, not many on offense, apart from Rico Dowdle, who was going to come in as a 1-2 punch with Chuba Hubbard, who was probably going to be an underrated pickup as well. I feel like every aspect of the draft, I think it was really, really good. Got some guys that we needed in a few different positions there. Like I say, safety, 2 edge rushers, another tight end in Mitchell Evans as well. So, I think we've done everything that we need to do to not only improve that awful defense. I mean, it was shocking last year. It was really, really difficult to watch. Like, I think we allowed one of the most points in NFL. In fact, we did the most points. Yeah, we broke the record last season for most points allowed. I think we were third most in history for rushing yards, fifth most in history or something along them lines for receiving yards. Like, it was a garbage fire. We've done everything that we needed to do in both free agency and the draft to improve that. And along the way, help out Bryce Young as well with people like McMillan and who else did we get? Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro's back out from a year out from retirement from an illness. A couple of other guys like Trevor Etienne as a running back, Rico Dowdle, who's a dual threat running back. I think we've put people in the right places where we need them to. So yeah, really happy.
Yeah, I think whether you look at offense or defense, I think either way, whether it's receiver help, whether it's defense, I think either way, you needed help on both sides of the ball. So I think whether you did get the likes of Walker, with your pick, or whether you got McMillan, I think either way, it's addressing a huge problem because you enter defense there, and most points allowed, most total yards per game allowed, 10th most, I should say, passing yards allowed in the NFL for yards, and then also the least rushing yard, the most rushing yards allowed, and then even on offense, you've got the fourth least yards per game on offense. It was you actually were mid-table. You were pretty comfortable when it comes to running yards. I think Chuba Hubbard had a brilliant year, but then passing yards, you were one of the worst, and then points, the same thing. It was every aspect statistically of the Panthers was poor. So I think I had to go and address the problem. But I think in a way, I think it does. I think it kind of does Bryce Young an injustice, those stats, because you think about how basically pre-Germany game, how bad the Panthers were. I mean, you went to a Panthers game in person. That was, by far a point. I would say maybe you're wrong. The worst era of your time as a Panthers fan, all the years. Obviously, you had the Super Bowl run with Cam Newton. Would you say that was probably the worst era as a fan before that Germany game?
In the build up to it on the backside of 2023, yeah. So we've had it rough since around about 2019. Like, I haven't enjoyed a season since 2017. That was our last winning season. 2017 made the playoffs, got beaten the wild card by the Saints. I think since 2019, where Cam got injured, Ron Rivera was fired before the season finished. So through to 2020. With Matt Rule, 2021, 2022. They were all bad seasons. We had a change in GM in 2020. Just things never really materialized. We tried to replace Cam. We had Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, a few other guys. But I think 2023 was the real low point, that 2-15 season. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that. Also, we thought them first few games of 2024 were almost as bad. Like, that first game we played the Saints, where I can't even remember the scores off the top of my head. I'm pretending to forget. I know we scored 10. I think the Saints put up like 44, something like that. Like, it was a massive differential. And then the home opener in week 2, where I was at, it was the Chargers. And again, I can't remember the score. I think it was like 37-3, something like that. I think we only scored a field goal that game. And I was in Charlotte that day on the Monday morning where the news came out that Bryce got benched. Andy Dalton came in and steadied the ship in the first game, so we won quite convincingly against the Raiders in week 3. And we thought, Bryce must actually be the issue here. But it wasn't really. Dalton, managed to steer the ship in the right direction, but we still hit a rock. It wasn't smooth sailing by any means. Dalton didn't really do too well. We only won that one game with him in control, then lost the following 4. People like Deontay Johnson, he had attitude issues. He didn't really work out. We ended up trading Jonathan Mingo. From the backside of 2023, which is the worst season in my lifetime, or at least during my fandom over the past 14 years, at least anyway. Yeah, them opening 2 weeks, especially of 2024, just followed on from how we thought it couldn't get any worse. I'm pretty sure I sat here and spoke to you last year and said, it's not going to get any worse than this. Surely it can't get any worse than a 2-win season. But then first 2 weeks, I was like, yeah, this is actually worse. Like the way we performed in them first 2 weeks, like that was probably as bad as I've seen in 2023. So yeah, it was abysmal. But yeah, I think the turning point was week 8, where Bryce got his job back, and Andy Dalton ended up in a minor car crash. So obviously, everyone was fine, thankfully. But yeah, it probably was the best thing that happened to us. It got Bryce back under center, and got him playing. And I think them few weeks on the bench watching Andy Dalton, which he probably should have done in his rookie year, to be honest. Frank Reich should have seen that, and maybe he's not have even started in week 1. I think Andy Dalton probably should have been our starter throughout 2023, or at least until the felt Bryce was ready. Yeah, from week 8 against Denver, where we lost quite heavily, but Bryce played really, really well, and continued to do so throughout the season. We were then won against the Saints. Then we went to Germany in week 10 and beat the Giants. And from there, things went really, really well. We lost the following 3 games, but we took them as moral victories. After them 2 wins, we narrowly lost against the Chiefs. Like I thought that was going to be a bloodbath. I mean, I think we tied it up right towards the end, and we let Mahomes get in position for a walk-off field goal. Lost by a field goal to the Chiefs. I mean, if that was presented to me before the game, I'd have taken that a million times out of a million. Like, I thought we would have been absolutely creamed. The following week, we played the Buccaneers, who's won our division 4 years in a row. Pretty good team. Should have beat them, but they ended up beating us in overtime. I think we had opportunities to win, a couple of missed field goals, and then incorrectly ruled out Adam Thielen touchdown. Like, yeah, we should have won that game in regulation time. We even had an opportunity to kick our own field goal to win, but Chuba Hubbard fumbled, gave them the ball back, and then they went and kicked the field goal of their own to win. And the following week, we should have beat the Eagles, the eventual Super Bowl winners. Xavier Leggett drop with like less than a minute on the clock. That would have tied the game up, and I think a PAT would have seen us win, take a 1-point lead. But yeah, that's how close we were to beating both Super Bowl contenders, Chiefs and Eagles. And yeah, like moral victories are a bit pathetic at times. Like it's a bit of a sad case, but the Panthers are a bit of a sad case. Like we take a moral victory when we can get it. And yes, a lot of them losses during that season. Bryce played amazingly. Sometimes the defense played quite well. People like Xavier Leggett, Jalen Coker, Chuba Hubbard. The offensive line played like a top 10 offensive line, which we haven't had in almost 10 years. So, yeah, there was a lot of positives to take out of that back end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as I was saying before, the stats look like it was a bad season from the offense. But actually, yeah, the improvement made from Bryce Young in this offense since that Germany game is light and day. I mean, there was, albeit only 2 attempted throws, but there was a game in October against the Commanders where he had -4 yards in the whole game. Obviously, obvious reasons why he didn't have any better than that. But you think about, if I look at his first 2 games, he had 0 touchdowns and 3 picks. Now, from Germany game onwards, he had 3 picks the entire rest of the season. So I think that shows, the kind of growth he's made. I mean, the last 3 games of the regular season alone, he had 0 picks. And with that as well, he had 7 touchdowns. So I think what you're finding is, whilst, as he lost some games, taken, 2 teams to overtime, 1-1, lost 1. Sorry, 3 teams to overtime, and 2 of them lost 1. So he's even winning games in tight situations. He's not, sometimes if it's a blowout, sometimes, you can, cut a lot of things down to that. But I think if he's winning games in overtime, in high scoring games, he's putting up the yards, he's putting up the touchdowns, and he's getting wins when it matters in overtime. I think that's a really positive thing to come out of last season. And I think that, to be honest, I know some people do like their teams maybe have 3 or 4 wins to get a better draft pick, but you've got your quarterback now. It's evidence that there's no need for you to be in the top 3 picks anyway. And if McMillan is the guy they're hoping he can be, then the Bengals, whilst their defense may be an issue now, but they wouldn't be in the Super Bowl if it wasn't for having Jamar Chase and having that number 1 guy for Burrow to throw to Tua massively improved when he got the guy he wanted, Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen improved massively when he got Stephon Diggs. And I think if McMillan is the guy that is, an eighth overall pick should be, then that's going to help Bryce Young. And you can get defensive studs in second rounds and third rounds. So I think, it's not necessarily the end of the world that they don't get an edge rush in the first round. Obviously, if he's a star, then obviously you would like that. But looking even at your draft, you've got your next two picks were edge players, and then you had a DT in the fifth round. So I think it's not as if you've gone out and got McMillan in the first round, then just completely neglected the defense the rest of the draft. You've still got guys there and guys that could easily be studs for you. And what can help a really, as we mentioned before, really poor defensive showing. So I think overall with Bryce Young, I think he's in a good place. And I think going into a third year, I think I can't see anyone having a talk they were having last year where they were saying, is he the best? Is he one of the worst first overall picks? I think now there seems to be a consensus that he is the guy. I think he needs maybe a full season to truly prove that. But how are you feeling about Bryce Young going into the third year? Because, it could have been just a flash in the pan the second half of the season. But ultimately, it also could be a sign of things to come.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think we're really positive. I don't think it's a flash in the pan because he won a Heisman Trophy and he was the number one overall pick. That doesn't come to everyone. Those are pretty spectacular accolades to have. He also won a national championship at Alabama as well. He's not just a one-off quarterback, someone who was maybe picked in the fifth round, who's just had a good back end of the year. Situations are important in the NFL, especially when it comes to a quarterback, depending on the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the plays that are being called, the receivers, your weapons, your offensive line. And Bryce Young was probably put into the worst situation that he could be in 2023. Every single one of them things that I've just mentioned were awful. Bad offensive line, no offensive weapons, bad head coach, bad play calling. It just didn't work out. Obviously, last year we changed things around. We got a new GM, new head coach, offensive coordinator, new playbook, new offensive weapons like Xavier Legate and Deontay Johnson to begin the season. We spent £153 million in the opening day of free agency, getting Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. So we've done big business in beefing up the offensive line and getting some weapons. And I think with Dave Canales, it was just going to take a little bit of time. He's young. He only spent 1 year as an offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay. Before then, he was a pass game coordinator. So I think his rise to become a head coach was quite fast. So I don't think anyone really expected a miracle from him. It took a little bit of time. And he was brave enough and ballsy enough to drop Bryce Young. After them first two games, they were awful. But we've got a reliable veteran back up there, and Andy Dalton, who, as I said before, came in and steadied the ship, didn't play amazingly, but at least helped show what we could do on offense. So then 5 weeks that Bryce got benched. I think they were invaluable and something that needed to happen. And I'm pleased he got that opportunity in them last 10 games to show what he could do. We ended the season really, really positively. And another thing that I think is important is stability. So I think this is the first year since 2019 that the Carolina Panthers are coming in with the same trio of general manager, head coach, and starting quarterback. Every single year, there's been a change in one or the other. And not to mention, we've got the same offensive coordinator. In fact, we've got the entire offensive staff has come back. That rarely happens. We changed a few defensive positional coaches. It was understandable because of how bad that was, but same defensive coordinator as well. So we've got some stability. There hasn't been a lot changed. So it's just got to be a bit more of the same. The way Bryce finished last year, it's just got to continue that. I think he was just getting better as the weeks went on. We've gone and got a McMillan, someone that can help him, another veteran in a Hunter Renfro and Dowdle and Etienne and Jimmy Horn Jr. We've continued to help him. It's not I think the year before when Dave Canales came in, because the offense was so bad in 2023, we kind of neglected the defense a little bit to focus on Bryce Young and the offense. Whereas this year, it's a bit of a flip. We've got to focus on the defense because it was bad, but we're not neglecting the offense. We're still helping Bryce Young by getting people like McMillan. So we are helping them in every way possible. And with some of them stats that you were reading off before, 7 touchdowns, but he got about 5 rushing. Like he was doing amazing jobs with his legs. He's not known as like a dual threat quarterback, but once he gets outside the pocket, he can run. He's very underrated in scrambling. Like he's one of them guys. Like I think he plays best when he's outside the pocket. Like the offensive line's held up very, very well. But it's when he gets outside and can start like doing his own thing, like that's where I think he plays best. So he got like 5 rushing touchdowns. And one of those interceptions that you mentioned, I don't know if you remember it, but it was against the Saints, where it was a pinpoint pass to the right-hand sideline to Xavier Liga, who caught it, but had the ball ripped out of his hands by the DB. So it's not like it was an interception. If anything, I would call it a fumble, like a strip. Like he put the ball where it needed. It was just a really good play by the defender. There's nothing that we could have done about it. Liga might have had stronger hands in keeping a hold of it, but that stat went against the Bryce as an interception where it probably shouldn't have been. So, yeah, his stats maybe don't look amazing on paper, but when you watch him, especially as a Panthers fan who's watched shite for the past 6, 7, 8 years, it like I say, it was night and day. Like it was so different. Like with a good offensive line, it's stable enough, like receiver core. Like it wasn't the best with Liga, Thielen, McMillan. That's why we've gone and helped them out a little bit by getting a few more. Chuba Hubbard had a great year. So yeah, I think it's not a flash in the pan. Like I really think people need to pay attention next year and realize that we're not the Panthers of old. I think people are still sleeping on our offensive line. That had been a big issue for 5-6 years. Last year it wasn't. I was still people saying that we had a shit O-line last year. We didn't. It was top 10. And now we've got like a decent receiving core as well. Like Bryce has got all the tools to succeed now. And like I say, with that stability, a second-year head coach, same offensive coordinator, all these things and all these teammates as well, like Chuba and X and Thielen, like it's all good things to lean towards a brighter future. And I'm not saying that he's going to win the division next year or be in MVP candidacy, but like I say, maybe it's a 4th year Bryce Young is where we're really, really going to see the best out of him. This year is just all about making that next step. Last year, he needed to make the step in, are you good enough? Because he didn't show that in his rookie year. First few weeks, he didn't. Last few weeks, he did. But now he's got to do it on a 17-game basis. He's got to do it week in, week out, and have all them stats. He's got to have way more touchdowns than interceptions. He's got to have all the pass yards. He's got to have all these touchdowns to all these new fancy receivers he's getting. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. I think the future's bright. The future's Bryce. Sorry about that pun. But yeah, I think 2025 should be a better year than 2024. How good? I don't know. But yeah, we've got to look towards 2026, 2027 to be winning our division and making a push in the playoffs.
And speaking of which, let's head to our win-loss or tie segment. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with the podcast, each founder comes on, predicts their team's overall record by going through each game and answering with a win, loss, or tie. So, week 1, you start off on the road to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Keg, win, lose, or tie?
I'm gonna put a win here. I think for a similar reason to the Jags finished with 4 wins last year. Like we were marginally better than them somehow. I don't know how. I'm a big fan of Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, the Jags were awful last year. And like the Panthers, they've got a first-year head coach who also happened to be a 1-year Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. So he's pretty much in the exact same position that Dave Canales was last year. But as I mentioned before, Dave Canales took time. Like as a first-year head coach, a pretty meteoric rise from offensive coordinator to a head coach. I think it's going to take time. Like, yeah, the Jags were awful last year. Yes, they've got Travis Hunter. But yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. And it might, like Canales, it might come towards the back end of the season. It might just take a few weeks to kind of get things rolling and get their feet under the table. I do think they'll have a turnaround year, but not in week 1. I think it's going to take time. So yeah, Panthers win.
I guess you could call that game the Baker Mayfield Offensive Coordinator Bowl.
You could do, yeah.
So week 2 is another road game, but this time you're taking on the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, this should be a tough one because, I think the Cardinals are one of these inconsistent teams that are a bit hitty missy. They went 8-9 last year. As long as Murray stays fit, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a step up, they could be better than that. I expect a little bit more from Jonathan Gannon's third year. I think they drafted quite well, got some free agents in it as well. So I think they're a better team than what they were last year. But they did go down a stretch of, I think it was like 5 losses out of the last 7 games. And one of those was against Carolina, one of them overtime wins that we got. So, yeah, it's going to be tricky on the road. And I should realistically say a loss. But optimistically, based off of last year's performance, I didn't think they were very good. We got the better of them. So I'm going to say that we beat them again.
Well, we actually forgot to go through last season. So last season, the Panthers did go 6-11. Now, Keg, you came on a year ago for this segment. Do you by chance remember what your prediction was for the record 12 months ago?
I think I said 6-11, but we went 5, didn't we? We won 5 games last year.
Yeah, so you guessed 6-11, but the team went 5-12.
That's right.
So it's wasn't far off. I think.
I actually went through them before. Like, I think I had like a note and I went through them and I actually got most of them right. So yeah, like obviously some losses and wins can differentiate, but I think I only got 3 results wrong last year. I think I predicted 2 more wins. So yeah, I think it was the week 3 win against the Raiders that I got right. We went on a 1-7 run to begin with, and the first one that I got wrong was the Broncos, and I think we agreed that I think we both thought that the Broncos were probably going to be the worst team in the league last year, which we were both wrong about. They're actually pretty good. So yeah, I predicted a win there. We got beat. And then I think I got every other result right up until the back end of the season. I think I maybe predicted 1 win against the Bucks where we lost. And I might have predicted a loss against the Cardinals as well, which we won. So yeah, I've done pretty well last year.
Yeah, fair play. Been some other teams that maybe weren't quite as good predictions, but yours was almost spot on. Week 3 is your home opener, and you're taking on the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, we tend to split these records. The Panthers and the Falcons haven't had great years over the past few years. I think the Falcons are always one of them teams where people expect more out of, but they never really live up to expectations. So I think the last time either of these teams done the double was 2019, where the Falcons won both games. But every year since 2020, we've split the record. So I think it'll be the same again. Like, I don't really think there's too much now to split the teams. So I'm going to split the record by giving us the advantage at home, and I'll say Atlanta will win further down the line.
Okay, so a 3-0 start. It's not a bad start to the year. Week 4, you're back on the road, and this time you're taking on the New England Patriots.
Yeah, people are going to be listening to this and thinking I'm absolutely off my nut here, crazy Geordie bastard. But I'm going 4-0 start. Patriots, similar to the Jags, didn't really have a great year last year. I think they were about 4 wins as well, weren't they? I think they were like 4-13 or something like that. Got a new head coach. Their coach got fired. So Mike Vrabel's back. Again, just like the Jags, like Trevor Lawrence. I like Drake May. I'm a big fan of Drake May. I think he's great. They've done good business. They went with an offensive line in the first round of the draft. Got Will Campbell from LSU. Got someone like Stephon Diggs to help with a veteran presence on the offense. They beat us out to get Milton Williams, fresh off a Super Bowl win. But the Patriots, I think everyone thought that he was going to sign for the Panthers, or at least among the Panthers fan base, we did. But the Patriots were just going to price everyone out. They wanted him, they went and got him, and they were going to give him whatever money that he wanted to make sure that he signed. So I expect more out of the Patriots next year. I don't think they're going to be as bad as what they were last year. I think they will make an improvement. But they're not that good. So if my crazy little warped mind says that we're 3-0, I think we go to Foxborough and take a win off of them as well. So I'm starting the season 4-0, baby.
Well, be careful of your answer in week 5. You're at home to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where things get real, not going to lie. The realistic hat's going to come on now. This is the biggest test. I think out of them first four, the Cardinals is probably the biggest test. But now, the Dolphins are one of them teams that didn't have a great year last year. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be down on them based off of that. I think there's maybe three more teams that we can talk about on this schedule who's the same. Like, they're better teams than what the 2024 season was. Tua obviously needs to stop getting his head bumped. Tyreek Hill needs to stop having babies and getting arrested. So other than that, the Dolphins are a good team. I think what was your record in 2023? Like 11 wins or something like that. You've done really well.
It was. I know it was 8 and 9 in 2024. And I want to say
like 11 and 6 or something.
Yeah, 10, 11 wins. It was nothing in the playoffs, but it was once again a season where we ended really poorly, which is the opposite of what happened last season. We just started the season horrendously.
Yeah.
I think if I get up now, I can't.
So I think these are a much better team than what 2024 showed. And if you can get things back on track with a healthy Tua, with a Tyreek Hill in the right frame of mind, then this is the biggest test so far. So we get our first loss.
It was 11 and 6 we went. So I think the most in my timing fan, the most wins I've seen in a regular season. I think. I don't think I've ever seen a 12-win season. I've only seen 3 years of playoff appearances, so not seeing too much glory. But I think that the stand at the highest win total I've seen. Week 6, you're staying at home, and this time you're taking on the Dallas Cowboys.
These are one of them teams that I mentioned before. 2024 record isn't a fair reflection on them. Like, they were awful. They were absolutely terrible last year. Again, could be down to quarterback injuries. I think Dak Prescott went out around about week 9-ish for the rest of the year. Their record was really bad. But they're much better than that. Obviously, they've getting CeeDee Lamb tied down and gave him George Pickens as well. Who knows what the situation will be with Micah Parsons, who's put in a trade request. Last year, as I was mentioning before, the stretch that we went on after 2 wins and those 3 moral victories where we narrowly lost to the Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Eagles, we came up against the Cowboys, where I think at the time they were like 5 and 8. So over that 5-game stretch, even 6-game stretch, if you go back to the loss against the Broncos, like, we were playing some really good football. So we were really confident as a fan base, and the Cowboys were awful. So we went into that game really confident, thinking, we're going to get the win here. The Cowboys suck. We'll do them, but they smashed us. It was not even close. They absolutely put us down to the floor. That's the kind of team that the Cowboys can be. Like, when they play well, they're great. They're not as great as they think they are, but they're a pretty good team nonetheless. This is one of them games like the Dolphins. If they pull it out the bag, if they can take themselves away from the 2024 season and get back to how good they should be, then this will be a Cowboys win.
Okay, so then week 7, you're taking on the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium.
I hope to God this is a win because the Jets suck. Don't rate the Jets at all. I know they've had a pretty bad few years as well. Got a change in head coach, got a new quarterback. Justin Fields is another one of them guys that I like. Don't think he's had the rub of the green in the NFL. I think he's been in some bad situations at the Bears. Done quite well at the beginning of last season. I think he was just unfortunate to end up getting benched when Russell Wilson came back. I thought the way he was playing, I thought the Steelers should have kept him starting, to be honest with you. But have they upgraded that much? I don't know. The thing with the Jets is they're kind of like one of them teams that just can't seem to get anything right. Like the Browns. And there's a couple of other teams that just, no matter what they do, they just can't get it right. People would probably say the Panthers are the same kind of team as well, to be honest with you. But when I look at the roster, I think they've got a really good team. If you look like their draft picks over the past few years, obviously Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner come to mind. Quinnen Williams, they've got some phenomenal players. They've done really well drafting on the offensive line, but even that hasn't always really been that great. They're a bit of a dumpster fire, and I think that we're getting them quite early on in the season. So this has to be a win. I hope and pray to God, because I'll be quite embarrassed if we lose.
Week 8, you're staying on the AFC East train as you host Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, hardest game of the season. This is a loss. Yeah, not even gonna try and sugarcoat this one. Yeah, on paper, when you look at the schedule, this is definitely going to be the hardest game. Yeah, if this can be anything like those Chiefs and Eagles games from last season, where we make them sweat it out a little bit, if we push them right to the end, if we can force them to kick a field goal to win it or take them to overtime, I'll be happy. I'll be over the moon if we lose to them narrowly, but play really, really well. Like if we do that, then I'm happy. But yeah, I can't really see a win coming out of this one.
Well, week 9, you're traveling to Lambeau Field and taking on the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, this is another tough one. Another one of them teams that maybe didn't play as well as they would have liked to have last season, but still pretty well. It's not as if they were bad by any means, but I think they hold their standards a little bit higher. And at a place like Lambeau, tough place to go. So yeah, this has got to be a loss.
Well, week 10, you're at home to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, this has got to be a win. This is one of them teams that I think everyone's tipping to be the worst team in the league with the number 1 overall pick next year. Thankfully, it's one of our divisional rivals who's gave us so much heartbreak in the past. So it'd be nice to put one on them. At home, I always fancy us against our divisional rivals because I don't think any one of us is particularly great. So yeah, at home against the Saints, it's got to be a win. It has to be.
Well, week 12, you're on the road, and this time you're taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Win, lose, or tie.
This will be a loss. Yeah, they're another one of them teams, as I mentioned before. The 2024 season doesn't reflect them. Injuries didn't help. Obviously, our guy, Christian McCaffrey, we wanted... I'm sure they would have wanted more out of him last year. Like he's the game changer. He's the real winner. So as long as he's fit and the rest of the team play better than they did last year, at their place as well, the place that we lost Super Bowl 50 in, yeah, that's got to be a 49ers win.
Well, week 13, you're at home to the Los Angeles Rams.
I'll go loss. Decent team. One of them teams that's kind of like in and out each year. You don't really know which Rams you're going to get. Don't know how good or bad they're going to be. They were pretty good last year. So maybe this is going to be one of them kind of iffy years or average years. I don't really know what they're going to do, but they're still a pretty good team nonetheless with good players, good head coach, veteran QB, some good players on both sides of the ball, really good young defensive line. So yeah, we'll go with the Rams win.
Well, week 14, you have a bye week. Then week 15, you're on the road to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, this is one where I'm thinking I should split the record. I should maybe give the Saints the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not going to. I'm going to hold me hopes that they're absolutely garbage and we'll beat them both home and away.
So week 16 is a home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Difficult one, this one. Yeah, the Bucs have beat us all ends up for many, many years. I can't even remember the last time we beat them at home. I think it was like 2022 or 2021, maybe. It's a little while since we've even got that home win against them. So, yeah, I'm not going to say that they'll beat us. I don't think they'll do the double over us again. I will give us the benefit of the doubt and say we'll beat them at home.
So then your final home game of the regular season, you host in week 17, the Seattle Seahawks.
I don't know what they're going to be. I think they had a pretty good year last year, but the Seahawks are one of them teams where I think that's just a huge question mark. Like, I can't really figure out if they're a good team or pretty average. I don't think they're a bad team by any means. So they'll always be at least as good as us, more than likely better. Sam Darnold, ex-Panther QB now, is their starter ahead of Geno Smith. So yeah, difficult game, but so yeah, I'll give this one to the Seahawks.
Okay, so then your final home game of the season is on the road to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, we'll not beat the Bucs twice, especially on the road. I actually looked at when the last time we beat them was, and it was like 2017 or something like that. Like technically, we beat them on a road game in 2019, but that was the London game. That was at Tottenham. So yeah, the last time we actually beat them at Raymond James, I think, was about 2017 or something like that. So it's been a long time since we've beat them on the road. And I don't know if we've ever beat them twice in a season. So yeah, this will be a Tampa Bay win.
So there we are. That means you'll end the season, according to your predictions, with a 8-9 record, which you'd think that isn't going to get you in the playoffs. But I think overall, I think that's a 3-win increase on the year before. I think you can probably look at that with a lot of positives to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the year before, like coming like with Dave Canales coming in off of that 2-15 season, all we wanted was progression. We just wanted to see what Bryce Young could do and how a team should be ran. So yeah, Dave Canales was able to get 3 wins more than what the year prior was, and all we wanted was to see Bryce Young take a step. Took a while, but he made that step. So this year is all about more progression, and I think if we get another 3 wins on top of last year, that's a huge bonus. And as I said before, I just want to see Bryce Young have a consistent 17-game season. So if Bryce Young can prove to the league that he's at least a mid-level quarterback, maybe pushing the top 10 if he's lucky, that's a huge bonus. And yeah, like I said, it's just progression going forward into 2026. So if we do 3 wins consistently, so go from 2 wins to 5, 5 to 8, if we can take that next step next season and get, say, 11 wins, then that should be enough to win our division because, let's face it, it's not the best. I think a few years ago, 8 and 9 actually won the Bucks the division. I think that was Tom Brady's last year. Was that 2022 or 2021? Yeah, 8 and 9 won the Bucks that division that year. So if we can go on and get double figures, 10, 11, maybe even 12 wins, God forbid, yeah, that's where we want to be. We want to be pushing the playoffs and making ourselves a real like playoff contender.
Well, let's head into our final section, which is Fan Asks Fan. So a new segment on this year's off-season season previews. Each fan who comes on asks the next guest a question whilst also answering a question from the previous guest. Now, our previous guests were both Ollie and Paul Hope on our 49ers season preview, and Paul Hope in part 2 asked a question to you, Keg. If you were in a fan event, which let's say for you is maybe in Bijou, if you were in a Panthers fan event and you could have any player from Panthers history be there as the guest on the official Panthers party, who are you taking?
I feel like the easy answer is Cam Newton because you look at personalities, like you're not really bothered about who was a good player. Yes, that helps if it's one of your legends, if it's one of your superstars, then that's amazing. But you want a personality, someone who's going to make it a fun event, someone who's going to make it entertaining. And there's been no more entertaining player in Panthers history than Cam Newton. So yeah, I think they both roll into one there. Is he our greatest ever player? Debatable, probably not, but he's certainly up there. He's got to be top 3. He's the only Panther to ever win the league MVP. So yeah, got to be Cam Newton for both reasons.
Yeah, I think I kind of think of him, Luke Kuechly, and Steve Smith Jr. as maybe the 3 best Panthers. You probably know him. There's probably someone I've forgotten, but
Julius Peppers will be the other one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's probably one of them as well.
Yeah, they've got to be our top 4.
Yeah, I mean, I have considered at some point doing maybe off season, maybe doing a episode per team over the off season, doing maybe top 5 players in each team's history. So maybe that could be something we look into maybe next off season. Maybe do something based on that. Before we go on to your question for our next fan, what was your take on Cam Newton's comments about he felt that winning the MVP was better than winning a Super Bowl because he said it was down to individual achievement rather than just being part of the team. What was your take on that? Because yeah, Cam Newton, he may think differently if he'd won that Super Bowl against the Broncos, but yeah, he certainly come out and said that his MVP he would value more than the Super Bowl. But what was your take on it?
It's one of them things. Like Cam's obviously a very outgoing personality and speaks his mind. Sometimes speaks a little bit too much, and I think that's one of them things where he might have spoke before he thought. It's a bit of a selfish comment. Like it's obviously a personal accolade, and look, they're amazing. If you win league MVP, then that's fantastic for you in your career and your cabinet at home. But as a Panthers fan, then you want that Super Bowl. Like I couldn't really give a shit about Cam winning MVP in 2015 if we won the Super Bowl. That's the main thing. Yeah, it's great for you, and I'm happy that as my quarterback, you win MVP. That's amazing. Look, I'm not going to take that away from you. But if you ask me, would I rather Cam win a Super Bowl, win MVP, or the Panthers win a Super Bowl? It's not even a question. So yeah, it was a bit of a selfish comment, and yeah, something that's obviously more personal to you than it is to the team. So yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, if I'm an ex-teammate of his and I'm hearing him say that when he's the guy who ducked out of picking up a ball when there was that fumble, I'd be extremely annoyed because it's not as if you can't say Camden did all he could in that game. I mean, he was performed well below his expectations in that game, and again, I mentioned just then, but I think the fact that he did pull out of getting the ball in that melee. I think I'd be so annoyed if I was Luke Kuechly, who had to retire early because of injury, or if I was, let's say, Josh Norman or whoever else on that
Greg
team.
Olsen.
Greg Olsen, yeah. I would be looking at thinking, yeah, I will not be happy if I was one of those players. Right, Keg, the final part is now for you to ask our next guest a question. Now, we'd like to keep the next team as a surprise. I know in my head what the team is, but I want to give you the chance to ask our next guest a question.
All right. If your current quarterback isn't your greatest quarterback ever, who is it?
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next answer is. Now, just getting my calendar up. Yeah, I'm intrigued by if it is who I think it is next. If they turn up and there's no issues with something that holds them up and they can't make the episode, I'm intrigued to see who their quarterback answer is, because I'm looking at the team in my head. I'm thinking about their history of quarterbacks. I just can't think of the top of my head who you could say. This team had a lot of bad quarterbacks over the years, so I'm intrigued who they say. Unless I've just completely forgotten about someone, I'm intrigued to know what they say. But that is where we will end the show for today. So, Keg, once again, huge thank you for coming on the show.
No problem. And once again, thank you very much for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Well, we will look forward to having you on again. Of course, the Panthers do play the Dolphins in week 5, as we mentioned earlier. So we will be getting you on, I'm sure, during that game, whether it's to review the game or to preview the game. So you'll be hearing Keg's voice again throughout the season, and he'll be hearing his own voice in this podcast in our postseason preview episodes, when his team, he'll hope, will be one of the teams involved in that. But in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast 2025 Carolina Panthers season preview. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, with our guests in Panthers fan Keg, and we'll see you guys for our next team season preview. See you then.